understandings they may have about the male sex, makers and promoters of sex books and movies, etc., who are hastening the day when all that will be shown on the screen will be suck and fuck. Males, like the rats following the Pied Piper, will be lured by pussy to their doom, will be overcome and submerged by and will eventually drown in the passive flesh that they are, drug pushers and advocates, who are hastening the dropping out of men. Being in the men's auxiliary is a necessary but not a sufficient condition for making scum's escape list. It's not enough to do good. To save their worthless asses, men must also avoid evil. A few examples of the most obnoxious or harmful types are rapists, politicians and all who are in their service, campaigners, members of political parties, etc., lousy singers and musicians, chairmen of boards, breadwinners, landlords, owners of greasy spoons in restaurants that play muzak, great artists, cheap pikers and welchers, cops, tycoons, scientists working on death and destruction programs or for private industry, practically all scientists, liars and phonies, disc jockeys, men who intrude themselves in the slightest way on any strange female, real estate men, stockbrokers, men who speak when they have nothing to say, men who loiter idly on the street or and mar the landscape with their presence, double dealers, flim-flam artists, litterbugs, plagiarizers, men who in the slightest way harm any female, all men in the advertising industry, psychiatrists and clinical psychologists, dishonest writers, journalists, editors, publishers, etc., censors on both the public and private levels, all members of the armed forces, including draftees. LBJ and McNamara give orders, but servicemen carry them out, and particularly pilots. If the bomb drops, LBJ won't drop it, a pilot will. In the case of a man whose behavior falls into both the good and bad categories, an overall subjective evaluation of him will be made to determine if his behavior is, in the balance, good or bad. It is most tempting to pick off the female great artists, double dealers, etc. along with the men, but that would be impractical, as there would be no one left. All women have a pink streak in them, to a great or lesser degree, but it stems from a lifetime of living among men. Eliminate men and women will shape up. Women are improvable, men are not, although their behavior is. When scum gets hot on their asses, it'll shape up fast. Simultaneously with the fucking up, looting, couple busting, destroying and killing, scum will recruit. Scum, then, will consist of recruiters, the elite core, the hardcore activists, the fuck-ups, looters and destroyers, and the elite of the elite, the killers. Dropping out is not the answer, fucking up is. Most women are already dropped out, they were never in. Dropping out gives control to those few who don't drop out. Dropping out is exactly what the establishment leaders want. It plays into the hands of the enemy. It strengthens the system instead of undermining it, since it is based entirely on the non-participation, passivity, apathy and non-involvement of the mass of women. Dropping out, however, is an excellent policy for men, and scum will enthusiastically encourage it. Looking inside yourself for salvation, contemplating your navel, is not, as the dropout people would have you believe, the answer. Happiness lies outside yourself, is achieved through interacting with others. Self-forgetfulness should be one's goal, not self-absorption. The male, capable of only the latter, makes a virtue of an irremediable fault and sets up self-absorption, not only as a good but as a philosophical good, and thus gets credit for being deep. Scum will not picket, demonstrate, march or strike to attempt to achieve its ends. Such tactics are for nice, genteel ladies who scrupulously take only such action as is guaranteed to be ineffective. In addition, only decent, clean living, male women, highly trained in submerging themselves in the species, act on a mob basis. Scum consists of individuals. Scum is not a mob, a blob. Only as many scum will do a job as are needed for the job. Also, scum, being cool and selfish, will not subject itself to getting rapped on the head with billy clubs. That's for the nice, privileged, educated, middle-class ladies with a high regard for the touching faith in the essential goodness of daddy and policeman. If scum ever marches, it will be over the president's stupid, Sickening face, if scum ever strikes, it will be in the dark with a 6-inch blade. Scum will always operate on a criminal as opposed to a civil disobedience basis, that is, as opposed to openly violating the law and going to jail in order to draw attention to an injustice. Such tactics acknowledge the rightness of the overall system and are used only to modify it slightly, change specific laws. Scum is against the entire system, the very idea of law and government. Scum is out to destroy the system, not attain certain rights within it. Also, scum always selfish, always cool, will always aim to avoid detection and punishment. Scum will always be furtive, sneaky, underhanded, although scum murders will always be known to be such. Both destruction and killing will be selective and discriminate. Scum is against half-crazed, indiscriminate riots, with no clear objective in mind, and in which many of your own kind are picked off. Scum will never instigate, encourage or participate in riots of any kind or any other form of indiscriminate destruction. Scum will coolly, furtively, stalk its prey and quietly move in for the kill. Destruction will never be such as to block off routes needed for the transportation of food and other essential supplies, contaminate or cut off the water supply, block streets and traffic to the extent that ambulances can't get through or impede the functioning of hospitals. Scum will keep on destroying, looting, fucking up and killing until the money-work system no longer exists and automation is completely instituted, or until enough women cooperate with scum to make violence unnecessary to achieve these goals, that is, until enough women neither unwork or quit work, start looting, leave men and refuse to obey all laws inappropriate to a truly civilized society. Many women will fall into line, but many others, who surrendered long ago to the enemy, who are so adapted to animalism, to maleness, that they like restrictions and restraints, don't know what to do with freedom, will continue to be toadies and doormats, just as peasants in rice paddies remain peasants in rice paddies as one regime topples another. A few of the more volatile will whimper and sulk and throw their toys and dish rags on the floor, but scum will continue to steamroller over them. A completely automated society can be accomplished very simply and quickly once there is a public demand for it. The blueprints for it are already in existence, and its construction will only take a few weeks with millions of people working at it. Even though off the money system, everyone will be most happy to pitch in and get the automated society built. It will mark the beginning of a fantastic new era, and there will be a celebration atmosphere accompanying the construction. The elimination of money and the complete institution of automation are basic to all other scum reforms. Without these two the others can't take place, with them the others will take place very rapidly. The government will automatically collapse. With complete automation it will be possible for every woman to vote directly on every issue by means of an electronic voting machine in her house. Since the government is occupied almost entirely with regulating economic affairs and legislating against purely private matters, the elimination of money and with it the elimination of males who wish to legislate morality will mean that there will be practically no issues to vote on. After the elimination of money there will be no further need to kill men, they will be stripped of the only power they have over psychologically independent females. They will be able to impose themselves only on the doormats, who like to be imposed on. The rest of the women will be busy solving the few remaining unsolved problems before planning their agenda for eternity and utopia, completely revamping educational programs so that millions of women can be trained within a few months for high-level intellectual work that now requires years of training. This can be done very easily once our educational goal is to educate and not to perpetuate an academic and intellectual elite, solving the problems of disease and old age and death and completely redesigning our cities and living quarters. Many women will for a while continue to think they dig men, but as they become accustomed to female society and as they become absorbed in their projects, they will eventually come to see the utter uselessness and banality of the male. The few remaining men can exist out their puny days dropped out on drugs or strutting around in drag or passively watching the high-powered female in action, fulfilling themselves as spectators, vicarious livers or breeding in the cow pasture with the toadies, or they can go off to the nearest friendly suicide center where they will be quickly and painlessly gassed to death. Prior to the institution of automation, to the replacement of males by machines, the male should be of use to the female, wait on her, cater to her slightest whim, obey her every command, be totally subservient to her, exist in perfect obedience to her will, as opposed to the completely warped, degenerate situation we have now of men, not only not existing at all, cluttering up the world with their ignominious presence, but being pandered to and groveled before by the mass of females, millions of women piously worshipping before the golden calf, the dog leading the master on the leash, when in fact the male, short of being a drag queen, is least miserable when abjectly prostrate before the female, a complete slave. Rational men want to be squashed, stepped on, crushed and crunched, treated as the curs, the filth that they are, have their repulsiveness confirmed. The sick, irrational men, those who attempt to defend themselves against their disgustingness, when they see scum barreling down on them, will cling in terror to Big Mama with her big bouncy boobies, but boobies won't protect them against scum. Big Mama will be clinging to Big Daddy, who will be in the corner shitting in his forceful, dynamic pants. Men who are rational, however, won't kick or struggle or raise a distressing fuss, but will just sit back, relax, enjoy the show and ride the waves to their demise. It will be electronically possible for him to tune in to any specific female he wants to and follow and detail her every movement. The females will kindly, obligingly consent to this, as it won't hurt them in the slightest and it is a marvelously kind and humane way to treat their unfortunate, handicapped fellow beings.